What's
Yeah.
going on, ladies and gentlemen? How you doing out there? Y'all know this is the award-winning internationally known podcast show that still does everything they don't. You're now tuned in to Who They Want podcast, and I'm here with movie icon Monday's special honorary guest on the podcast. It's such a joy to have the man, the myth, the legend, the man that keeps going and is timeless to still be around, still dropping comedy bombs, still doing his thing, and seems to be a collector of art and loves art. You know who I'm talking about, man. You've seen all his movies from the late 70s to now. I'm talking about the one, the only, the iconic Tommy Chong. How you doing, brother?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And it's the Cheech that collects the art. My art is
Okay.
my wife is my artist and my art. And
Oh, okay.
but Cheech is the art collector of note. I am the artist of note.
Shout out to Cheeks, man. That's
Yeah.
iconic as well, you know what I'm saying? Seeing you two have the legendary duo is very inspiring, especially for me as a podcaster, to want to be like, there's no way I'm gonna just, do this and create my empire like alone. If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna build a bond with a team and just go hard, man. And unfortunately, they wanted to all be a part of this, but I was like, you know what? I got to do this one as a personal favor to myself. Like I have to talk to the man myself, you know what I'm saying? So it's such an honor to have you on my platform for this tremendous conversation we're having today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
So how's it been going? How's life been treating you?
I could be better. I mean, I've been going through some changes because of everybody's been going through the changes, but I've been on the planet long enough to realize that it's just really a repeat of what's been going down. As
Right.
we evolve, we're. I realized, from you know being locked down with the pandemic, it upset a lot of people, but for me it was a natural progression, you know because
Yeah.
like comedy, like music, the most important, uh, or just as important as the notes, is the space in between the notes. And when you get locked down, a lot of us, in fact all of us, were meant to recalibrate our our our, our activities. And then we end up, when you're locked down like this, like I did time in prison, so it was the same thing. When I went to
Right.
prison, I asked an old G that I hung with there. I said, "How do you do time? What's the best way to do prison time?" And he told me, he says, "Play games. You play games. You get involved with card games or checkers or chess or mind games. But what you do, you keep your mind. You don't let your mind get lazy. You
Mhm.
always challenge yourself. And when you're challenging yourself like that, you're learning. Then you're taking advantage of the time that you have, because so many of us, especially in the world where we're so busy trying to, to make a buck, or trying to stay alive, or trying to make the rent, or trying to pay off the debt, or trying to do all sorts of things. But when,
Right.
yeah, but when you have a chance to actually do nothing, then that's a time that you can really use to create all sorts of new worlds for yourself and for everybody else.
I love that. That was deep. Cause you're right though, because it did make us stop focusing on so much of reality and just slow down, and you got to enjoy your kids, your grandkids, your
Exactly.
family, people you haven't caught up with in years, because you
Yeah.
never knew when your final moment was coming. Because it's, even though it's still relevant now, but at that peak moment, it was like it was so deadly. It was like they was telling you just stay away from everybody. So
Yeah.
everybody was like concealing themselves, and like you said, how do you pass the time? And if you have, if you don't went through those hardships of prison or incarceration, you know how to mentally train yourself to be able to be like, oh, you want me to be in solitude? This is nothing. I done did
Yes.
time enough to be prepared for it. But then you got to look at those who not mentally prepared for it. and how devastating it can be on them.
Yeah, well, so many, well, like even right now, there people are talking about going into space, shooting rocket ships to Mars, and maybe even putting some living quarters on the moon and on the Mars, and they get all caught up with that. Well, you can do that and more without leaving your living room or your car or your seat or wherever you're sitting, because
Right.
the mind is so vast and so, infinite. There's infinite possibilities with imagination. So you don't have to be in a spaceship to go to Mars. You can go that in your imagination. So easy and so better. And just like when you see the Hubble spacecraft or the big telescope they got now, and you can see further into space than we ever have. And then the only thing we see is more space. It's just like
Right.
infinite is, and then when you realize that the scientists, they say that this is just one universe. There are infinite numbers of universes.
I don't think people really know what infinite mean. They go, all right, so it's about top five it, and then for top 10, infinite, it's limitless. There's no
Limit,
stopping. It just goes beyond and beyond and beyond.
right? And we can travel because being human, we've got that brain that was in Jesus, the same
Right.
brain that was in Moses, the same brain that was in Einstein, all these, it's the same brain. And
You
we
just
have
gotta tap
access
into
to
it.
it. We have access to, like, our phones now. You
Yeah.
look at your phone now. Everything's on that phone, except your ability to access everything. That's the only thing that's missing, is our ability to access what we have in our hand right now. It's the answer to everything. It's the answer to world hunger. It's the answer to wars. It's the answer to everything that we talk about, the pandemic, everything. It's on this phone. And I love where we're going with this, because uh, we have a choice, being human, and the way our minds are, is that we do have choice. And talk about the Constitution, the free, so-called freedom of speech and the freedom of this.
Right.
We have those freedoms, obviously we do. But just like if you think about the game of golf, what makes golf so incredible?
What
What
would
makes
that be?
the rules?
Right? Yeah. It would
The
definitely
rule,
be that.
the rules. Without the rules, the game is meaningless, totally meaningless. It has no, it doesn't make sense that you're going to hit a little ball and then walk, hundreds of yards and hit it. And the idea is to hit it in a little cup and then do it again, over and over again. What makes that game so incredible is the rules. Now you spread that to life. It works the same way. What makes our life so incredible is the rules. If you follow the rules, your life will be not just incredible, but phenomenal. Phenomenal. And the
I
rules are
believe it.
simple. Do unto others,
Have
you
others
know.
doing you. Yes, sir. I know that logic.
You
I've
know
been
what I mean?
practicing that logic
Love
a
your
lot.
neighbor, love your neighbor, love your neighbor,
Right.
eliminate hate and jealousy and fear from your life the best you can, because there's nothing to fear. Because
But fear itself.
what this is what I learned, is that we are eternal beings. No, not our body. Our bodies are our vehicle,
I
but
got
our
you.
but our soul, or our mind, which is a soul. You can't separate one from the other. Yeah, you can become unconscious in that, but you're still aware no matter what goes in, because spiritually we are immortal, and we are spiritual and divine. Divine means we've always been here. You and I, we've always been here, and we will always be here in one form or another. And so what's happening, this is what I found out. We're in school, and the school is called life. We're all taking the course of life in school. And each of us are separate because we're all individuals. So we're all taking a different course in the school of life. And what we're doing is we're evolving. We're becoming, like if you look at the trees, the forest, the biggest tree on earth is the sequoia, which they grow, there's General Sherman is like 4,000 years older than Christ. He's 4,000 years old. He's enormous. You could drive 2 cars through the center of it. It's so wide and so big. That tree started as a little tiny seed. and it grew into this giant, and it's only here for a minute when you think of eternity, and then it'll start the same, it drops seeds, it starts, and that's our life. And that's what we are. We are these eternal creatures that are going through the universe, the eternity, in such a way that we evolve and we can enjoy every bit of our life as we evolve, even the rough parts of our life, the horrors, the tragedies, all that builds character. And so every time you come back, no matter how evil you were in the one lifetime, you can come back and then just be the saint in another lifetime. And then it might go back to the being evil, and because that's the way life grows in this universe of ours, in the physical universe. And the other thing that I learned is that we live in a world of opposites. In other words, electricity only works if you have positive and negative. And what makes electricity power is that you put these positive and negatives against each other, and that power that you get out of it, because it's resistance, they're resisting each other to the point that you create power, you create this energy. And that energy, if you use it properly, will motorize our cars, our airplanes eventually, our space travel will all be done with electricity, because electricity is the most normal, common thing in the universe, in our physical world.
Right.
The spiritual world now, in order for electricity to work, you have positive and negative, right? Okay, right. So now we have the positive, say, which is the physical world. That's your positive. Okay, what's your negative? What's the opposite of everything? Nothing. So the opposite of everything in the spiritual world is really nothing. It's a spiritual world. There's no want, need, or desire, or any physical need in the spiritual world.
Right.
So we are, you and I, we're merely a thought, a little dot. That's all we are. Not even dot. It's smaller than what's about angels dancing on the head of a pin. That's small, because the opposite of everything, like I say, is nothing. And so the spiritual world, which we go to when we die, our spirit goes back into the spiritual world, which is in Christian faith, and a lot of faiths, is called heaven. We go into heaven, and our consciousness does. And that's who we are. And then when we evolve back into the physical world again, we go back to take a course in which we never finished when we were here before. We continue our education as we evolve. And so the people that say those, like Mozart, for instance, when he died, Mozart was reincarnated as some phenomenal musician, because he could play from the time he got out of the womb. The little fucker was playing
Right.
his song, everything when he was 3 years old. And that's just one example. And so that's the way the human experience is that we're in school and we're always learning and we're always evolving. And when you think about opposites, that's why you have evil. That's why you have good. You can't have one without the other. In other words, you can't have good without bad. There's no way to do that. You can't have right without left. You can't have up without down. And that's what we do. And so when the spiritually evolved, know this, and now they try to teach it to people. That's why you look at the wise gurus of the world. They got one thing in common. You know what that is? I
What
call
would
it
that be, sir?
the cosmic giggle.
Okay.
Because you look at all those spiritual ones that know, yeah, including Jesus and Moses, they all
Okay.
had a sense of humor, but they all called God Father,
Right.
because they knew that they, the Father who art in heaven. See, the Lord's Prayer tells you everything you need to know. And when I talk to people now, and they need some spiritual guidance and everything, and the simplest way is to go to the Lord's Prayer, which was incredibly written. It's so perfect. And now there are atheists and so on that, a lot of people, well, they're not evolved, they
Right.
mock. But just let me take you through the Lord's Prayer, just to show
Go
you
ahead.
how
Go ahead.
on point it is. Our
Okay.
Father, meaning everybody's Father, who art in heaven. Our Father who art in heaven, not our Father who art on earth. Our Father who art in the physical world. Our Father who art in heaven, in that spiritual world. Hallowed be thy name. Now, why would that be so important? Hallowed be thy name. Why? Because the only connection we have with our Father who art in heaven is his name. That's the only connection. That's the only way we can communicate with each other, is by calling. And by the way, God is called many names by everybody else, other
Mm-hmm.
religions, Father, Mother, Krishna, Allah, all these different names, but they only mean one thing: God. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. That name, when you just mention, and better yet, when you think, when you put God on your mind, that's why the spiritual leaders and the spiritual teachers always taught you, when you wake up, the first thing you want to think about, put on your mind, is God. So it's like putting on a protective sheet, or any kind of protective gear. You wake up in the morning and you go, oh, thank you, Father. And right away, you've made the connection. And once you made that connection, you're tuned in to the God program. And the God program is such that insisting on freedom for you to learn. So everything is laid out in front of you. You have choices all over the place. Now, a lot of times, a lot of us don't have choices because that's our karma. This is where we're like the sick. What's his name that was in the wheelchair? Stephen Hawkins. See,
Right.
Stephen couldn't move anything, but he could think, and the God power was in his brain. We're, like we all have. And so no matter, and he was immobile, which in a way, you think about it, caused him to think of all these great things that he thought about, because he had nowhere to go. He had nothing, no distractions, you see. And so this is This is how powerful that the Lord's Prayer is. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. This is God's world. This is his world. And it's a gift to us. We are beholders. We are the ones that get to sit and look at a sunset, or look at the stars at night, or to feel the breeze, or to see the wrath of God, the hurricanes, the horrible destruction. You know what killed me when I'm listening to, watching the news, about the war, and they're worried about their nuclear war is going to hit the atomic bomb, and they say, what should we do? Kids hide under the desk and everything else. The hurricanes we just went through is the same damage that the atomic bomb's going to do. There's no difference except for radiation. And even the way we're living now with a lot of chemicals and all the crap that's going around, the radiation is there also. So every day.
And the cell phone. So either way, we're exposed to all these things. You're right.
Every day we see the effects of an atomic bomb in like hurricanes, floods, earthquakes, volcanoes.
All that. Mass shootings, whatever, you pinpoint these things.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And they're all learning devices. Because like I say, in the spiritual world, there's nothing but love. There's nothing but love. No want, need, or desire. Okay? So while you're in the physical world, enjoy. This is what I tell people all the time, especially the older ones. They getting older, they start, well, I can't do what I used to do. Yeah, of course you can't, because you're old. You're not supposed to be doing anything. That's one of the reasons when old people get ugly, for a reason. There's a reason. Because if you're like, the same reason that babies are so cute when they're young, because the most instinctive thing to do with a baby is to protect it, keep it nice. It's so sweet and cuddly and honest and everything. You want to just protect it, everything. Get an old guy, especially an old guy that's dying of something. It's like, okay, is he still here? Oh.
Right. You look at it like, we don't have to protect you anymore. We're just waiting on you to go and walk through that door. Next, take your exit, stage left.
That's it. That's it. That's it. That's it. But you see, this is our physical being. This is our physical being. You see, and that's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. See, we're going through these changes, just like in a movie. Like you take actors. When you I look at documentaries all the time, and I see actors that when they were young, like Angela Lansbury. When you see her when she was young, she was a fox. She was gorgeous. And then as she got older, she changed. She got lumpy and fat and basically unattractive until you get real old, and then you're really unattractive. But that's a reason, is that we weren't there. The making babies, that's past. That's for young people, for the most part. There's been incidences, but it's been very rare. And usually, that's why we get prostate cancer. We get something that will disarm the dick, and take it off the worry part, and that this is what we're going through. But the answer, again, this is what I learned about with the wise men, is that that's why old guys, we don't have a lot to say, and we don't have a lot of people listening to us anymore. Once you become a grandpa, it's like that. Oh, grandpa. Oh, don't bother grandpa. He's leave grandpa alone.
You separate that bind now, right? You put up that wall of defense. They got their space, we got ours. We'll see you at holiday season.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell old people, man, enjoy it. Quit trying to be. Yeah, you can dress young as you want, you can act young as you want, but when it comes to lifting something heavy or doing some sports or something like that, no, your day's over. Relax, enjoy, sit back, kick back, let the young kids do everything. You sit back and enjoy life now. you worked hard all your life. Now it's time for you to sit back and garden a little bit, or smoke your weed, or watch TV like I do, watch sports until you can't take it anymore.
Right.
Enjoy your life, man.
Yeah. And it's funny how this conversation is so comforting because I was in the shower this morning for some reason. I was kind of into this country. I always set like a tone for like my showers for some reason now. I'm like listening to country music, and one of my favorite songs is Toby Keith's "As Good as I Once Was." So everything you just said was correlating to like as you get older, you're not as good as you once was. But just know, if I felt up to it, there's gonna be a day I might still feel 23, but that's just in that moment. But I still got to realize you're not 23 anymore. This body don't move like it used to. These joints are like, nah, but this mind is still sharp as a tack. But the
Yeah,
body, it's like you say, it becomes all your power comes from all your brain. Like, I don't have to be the muscle now. I'm the brains of the operation.
that's right. That's right. And you got different. I watch people like I go to a lot of art galleries and places like that,
Right.
and I just when I go to an art gallery, for instance, I'll walk around till I find a painting or a sculpture, something that really stops me, the vibration, and then I'll stay there the rest of the day. I won't move. I'll just sit there because I know from experience that life happens right where you are. Just like I used to be, my brother was a scuba diver, deep sea, with the mask and the snorkels and everything. And I would visit his house in Vancouver, and I would put on all the gear. And then I would just go down 12 feet and sit there. I put a rock on my lap and just sit there with the tank and the breathing apparatus. And I would
Right.
become one. I would become one with the ocean. And next thing I know, I got fish coming up and crabs, and you see all the things that come out of they're invisible until you become part of the ocean. And then all of a sudden the ocean comes alive. And you don't have to go anywhere. You can sit there. And that's what I used to do. And it used to bug my brother because he was a little worried, I'm down there not moving, just, am I
I was
okay?
camouflaged. I know what I'm doing.
So he would dive down and look at my mask, and I'd give him the okay sign. Then he'd fine, you leave me alone. But I learned, and again, it was my, thank God for my Sunday school upbringing, because for some reason, when I went to Sunday school, because it was the only reason we had to dress up, we were that poor. We were like living on a reservation. We were that poor, and
Okay.
outdoor plumbing, and we had to pump our water from a well down the street, about a half a mile away, and carry the water to the house, and we really lived in a very. There was no toy stores anywhere. There was no stores anywhere, and so I learned, really young to make do with what I had, and what I had was incredible, and we had winters too, like it was in Calgary. So I went through a lot of winters, and a lot of people think, you get snowbound and it's deadly.
The
It's
end of the
not.
world. It's Judgment Day because you
Yeah,
snowed in.
yeah, the car is stuck. What are we going to do? Just sit and enjoy your ass. Sit and enjoy the fire, or get
Right.
something
All
cooking,
these
man.
things are part of nature's balanced way of saying. This is our way of saying slow down. Enjoy the scenery. Enjoy bonding. Feel the warmth for a change. Sip some cocoa, coffee, whatever is your preference. But
That's what
it's
I'm
all
saying.
a meaning behind it. I always felt like life's lessons are like nature gives you the biggest lessons because it's going to tell you when it's time to act and when it's time to just sit still.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And now, if you take this philosophy and you enlarge it and you look at around, then you see why these people, uh, you know, the people on Earth, they go through all these changes. Like this racial thing that's going on now.
Okay.
It's going on. It's always been happening. And will always be happening. This is the world we live in. We live in a world like this here. You know,
You
you got,
just said it in earlier in the conversation. It's the positive negative effect.
that's
For every good, there's going to be some bad to center
that's
it off. It's part of the synergy system.
that's right. And what you do, if there again, you follow the rules, okay? You follow the rules. You keep your mind on God, and miracles happen. Now, they tell you that a million times, all the hymns and the religious books and the spiritual books and the gurus, everybody, they will tell you the same thing. That's what meditation really is. Meditation really is trying to keep the mind on God. You know, that's all. That's all it is. That's all meditation is. And when Jesus went up to the mountaintop and he fasted for 30 days all the time. Why? Because being pure, you know, puts you closer to the spiritual world where you don't need food, you don't need water, you don't need anything, because
Mm.
everything you have, everything God has, you have. Now you have it. And that's why a lot of spiritual guys like myself, I'm a little bit too blabbery, you know, too loud, because I've just discovered these things. You know, a lot of people
Right.
grew up with them, but when you discover it like I discovered, and because I'm in both worlds. See, I'm in the music world, I'm in the comedy world, I'm in that. I'm not just in the spiritual world. I'm a comedian in and I use it too sometimes, man. I did a gig at Skirball. It's a Jewish community center, and what they
Hmm.
did, they honored me with a lifetime achievement award. That's a
Oh,
cheap.
that's big.
Well, no, that's a cheap ass way of getting a comic to do his act without paying him.
We're gonna right.
You get a plaque, you get a plaque and then a meal maybe, and then they
Here's your
want you.
payment.
Yeah,
Be
but
like,
what?
hey, what a check at? Nah. You got the plaque. You got a free meal. That was we took that out of your check.
Yeah. So what I did, I thought, you know, driving there, you know, I got an act. I could have done an act. You know, I had a bunch of acts by then, and I thought I'm going to take him on a little spiritual journey. And my wife had invited her friends, a couple of our friends, you know, I say hers, but
Okay.
they're our friends. And they're sitting there and they're waiting for me to do my act, you know, to do the comedy. Instead, I take them on, like I did with, like what we're talking now. I took them on a spiritual journey. And I said, the most amazing thing, one of the reasons the Jews are so hated by everybody was that they were the first tribe to come out and say that God is spirit. See, before the Jews, the Romans were worshiping Baal and all these, and the Greeks were worshiping Hercules and all these different, the
Right.
natives were killing people, sacrificing for different things. But it was the Jews that said, God is spirit. God is spirit. God is immortal. God, there's always been a God, and we're part of God, and therefore, and the Jews come up with the rules that I'm talking about, the Ten
Right.
Commandments. The Ten Commandments. You follow the Ten Commandments, you can't go wrong. Period. And not only that, if you follow the Ten Commandments with your personal life, you will find happiness beyond imagination, that much happiness. And it's not hard, because there's just two things in the forgiveness. Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Forgiveness and judging not. See, people, they think, oh, you shouldn't judge people. In other words, if they're doing something, you shouldn't just, you know, you don't judge.
Right.
And it's so true too, because when you do judge yourself, usually people are the hardest judges of themselves. And that's why a lot of people, they can't get out of their house, because they're so judgmental about themselves. like a lot of people talk about going on stage, and it's like, oh, that's the worst thing that could ever happen. You know, the spotlight's on them, and oh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to do, what do, blah, 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 because of their judgment of themselves or their parents or their offspring or something. Been judged.
Mm.
I was lucky. I was like raised like an orphan. And so I had nobody to judge me, nobody. And that's why I got to where I'm at now, because I learned about my God app early, 4 or 5 years old. And as soon as I
And it
learned,
showed throughout your entire career. I can honestly say it's reflected in your career, whether you do the comedy, your movies, the music. I can honestly truly say,
yeah,
because like you said, once you know it, once you're in that round, you're talking to somebody like you can connect, you feel it. It's an energy. Like I feel this cool breeze. Like you give off such this positive, just in general energy. And I know the media world was like glamorized the marijuana field of it. I'm like, nah, he was woke way before that was a
way,
thing.
way before. But I went through the alcohol stages. I went through being stupid and fighting, and I never won a fight when I was drunk, ever. The only thing I did was one time I made a guy laugh hard because I took a swing at him and he put his head down and I hit his head and I broke my hand. And I'm a guitar player. Now, what was I doing
Ooh.
fighting? And the thing was, the guy that I hit, he was a big fan. And it was like, I just got confused. The next thing I know, I thought he was an enemy, and I threw a punch and broke my hand. And I think in fact, that was the last punch I ever threw. After that, I quit fighting, because I grew up in Canada, and we played
Right.
hockey, and fighting was part of our culture. Get drunk,
Absolutely.
fight. We get drunk, get in a fight. If you can't get a girl, well, then find some guy, try to, or
Build
get
a
in shape.
reputation, right? You become the Canadian bad boy. Like you don't
Yeah,
mess with that guy right there. He controls this. What I get it. I get it.
exactly. But when I quit all that, I did not overnight, but what it was, music saved my ass. Music saved my ass, because
Okay.
music is eternal. Music is of God. The music has always been here. The note C has always been the note C. It's never been a chance time in the world, in the millenniums, or forever. It's always been that note. It's always been C. And that's a few things that are constant in the universe, and music is definitely one of them. And so when you get in with the music, now you're caught. You're caught in there. And that's why a lot of musicians, they can't talk. They can play, but they can't talk because they never talk. And like with me, when I started being a comedian, it shocked the shit out of people that knew me, because I've known people for years and I never really had a conversation with anybody. I never had to. You get your amp, your guitar, you set it up, you tune it up. You might say, give me an A. You hit an A. And then, or you might say, you got any more of that? If someone gives you a turn, John.
You made
Or
yourself a human instrument to where it was like my work was speaking for itself. I didn't have to give you the conversation. You just, like you say, with the rules, you put the directions in front of me. I'm gonna handle the business, and I'm out the door before you say, "Hey, that was a great. Where did he go?"
that's what I'm talking about, man. And when I got into music, I was so lucky. Again, see, I was in the country. You're talking about country music. We never had our luxury was when we got a radio, because and we got a radio because we finally got electricity. Now, before that, we never had electricity. We had a Coleman
Right,
lamp. We had to pump up and fire
right.
the
Doing
lamp
everything off the
at,
grid.
at night. And we had a cook stove with wood and coal, but it was mostly wood. And that was it. That was our thing. No outdoor plumbing, like I said. Although my dad, being Chinese, he built a beautiful outhouse. It was like a Japanese tea house. It was so beautiful. It was a three-seater, and it was just out of cedar, and it smelled great. In fact, that's where I used to go. That was my because I never had a room of my own growing up, ever. And so, but the outhouse could be, I could go there and it smelled
It was
good.
that big.
He,
Yeah.
he had the hole dug real deep. And that's where I would go to meditate or to masturbate too. and because that was the only door that you could
Private
lock.
place during that time period that you had to be yourself. Got it. I
No,
get it. I love it.
no, I finding God, or you're okay. Here's how I found God too.
Okay.
Like I said, when we were kids, the only time you dressed up, and my mother made us go to Sunday school. And so you had to wear a nice shirt. You had to put shoes on and dress up and go to Sunday school. Let's go. My mother made us go. And I loved it. I loved the Sunday school because the class for kids was so small that I ended up helping the teacher. When the teacher never showed up, I would take the class and kind of read or something from one of the nice Sunday book stories. But I went to Bible camp, and that's where I learned how to pray. Now, you learn how to pray, and there's a lot of very wealthy, successful ministers that make a living praying, and they'll attest to the value of that knowledge, because your wealth will increase. It has to. It absolutely has to. Why? Because you're dealing with the power of the universe. See, here's the power of the universe. The reason we're here is to observe the wonders of God. Because, like, say a painting, like Van Gogh or something. Remember Van Gogh? He'd paint. Who's he painting for, really? He was really painting for God.
Visions became and made them reality.
Yeah. God was talking to him. God says, okay, hey, the sunflowers, check it out. Okay, let's do that one. With the night sky. Okay, come on, Van Gogh. We got to lay that thing. Because what happened to Van Gogh when he was alive? He never sold a painting. He would give paintings to his landlady for the rent. And she would take the paintings because they were worthless to her. And so she lined her chicken coop with Van Gogh paintings. And that's how she patched up her chicken coop. She'd take, that work right here, and then she'd put a Van Gogh that's now.
It became a favor for a favor at that point. Like, hey, I got this patchwork need to be done. I got a wonder that's busted. What you got for me today? I get it.
Yeah. Well, you see. So who was Van Gogh painting for? He was painting for God, for himself, because he knew that once you get that connection. I've had it a few times with myself. And when you get a connection, Up in Smoke, the movie, Up in Smoke, I just wondered, I had an idea of doing Cheech and Chong in the Woodstock. Instead of the Jack and the Beanstalk, it was Cheech and Chong in the Woodstock. And it was a weed stock. No, it wasn't Woodstock. It was Cheech and Chong in the weed stock. And it was going to be an animated feature. And that's the movie I was working on. When I told Lou and Cheech, that I did not want to go to Australia for the third or fourth time, because every time we went to Australia, I had to write a new show, and that takes a lot out of you.
A lot out of it.
I'd rather write a new movie. It was time to do a movie. I was tired of traveling. And so then Lou Adler, our manager, he went and got us a movie deal. Now, like, movie deals change. So he sold the movie deal to Paramount, and he said that it was going to be Cheech and Chong's greatest hits. That's what Lou came up with. And so so we were looking for a director, and we couldn't find a director. We tried a couple of people, it didn't work out. And so then Lou said, Lou said, I'll be the director, you know. And actually I directed it, but Lou Adler was in between the studio and myself, you know. And so, and he, you know, he kind of elbowed his way into a situation that was pretty lucrative for him. Anyway, when we decided Lou was going to be the director, I went home and wrote a song. And the song was Up in Smoke. And I took it the next day and played it and sang it for Cheech and Lou. And Cheech says, that's the name of the movie, Up in Smoke. And then once we had the name of the movie, now we got the movie, Up in Smoke. It's all about pot. And so then I went ahead and I wrote about, because Cheech and I, you know, we did about 10 albums by then, you know, so writing to us was like, you know, it was easier.
Natural, it was naturally done. Yeah.
It was easier than taking a dump because we've done both and the writing came out easier, faster. but what I'm saying, so we did Up in Smoke. And again, it was all my connection, you know, what I learned when I was a kid, praying, when I learned the way I lived, the way I'd wake up with God on my mind. And that's the way it come out. And that my whole life has come out like that, you know. Like I was married to this gorgeous Black lady I met when she was 14. She was the daughter of the piano player we were putting a band together. And you know, she was the sister of the piano player. And so we met and we were like childhood sweethearts. But she was 14 and then she had to grow up on her own kind of thing. I went off, I did everything, but we always knew we were going to get married, you know. And eventually, at first, we broke up and she had another boyfriend or boyfriends. And I was looking for a wife at the time. And I got involved with another lady and she got pregnant. We only made love one time. And I got a daughter out of that one. And so when my first wife said, okay, let's get married, because I'd been on the road in between since then. But anyway, I again, everything was serendipity. You know, it was just things happen as they're supposed to happen. And so Ray Dawn, my daughter, came out of the first marriage, you know, because my wife ended up adopting her, my first wife. And then I had Robbie, Robbie became a beautiful French fashion model. Ray Dawn became Ray Dawn Chong, you know, the actress. And then I met my soulmate, who was also very young when I met her. She was 16. I was married, and we were just friends. That's why we were still together today, because you can't break up with a friend. You know, you can break up with a lover. You can't break up with a friend. And we were just friends until we took acid together. And then once we took acid together, we made love. She got pregnant, and now I got a daughter named Precious. And now Shelby and I have been together for 50 some odd years now. And my first wife, Maxine, lives out here. We're very close, very tight. And Floyd, by the way, her brother, younger brother, who I ended up using in my band, he became the drummer for the Three Dog Night. And so Floyd. So we're royalty. We're all connected in there. And we're still
like that. That great circle of life. Everybody has a link now. Everybody's linked in and part of this unity. And then, like you say, have a great friendship. You had your history with certain people. It went, you produced something even great behind that. And it's like, hey, who's tripping over that? You know, it's life now.
Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, you follow at least what I did, you know, I because like I'm so connected to the spiritual world that nothing goes by. And there's so much that you don't have to do, you know. And the greatest thing about, I noticed myself, I've got that wrinkles. I got a ton of wrinkles. I'm 84. And so I look in the mirror, and I've been looking in that mirror all my life, and I've seen the changes. But the thing I like about, because I started drawing little caricatures of myself, and then a lot of fans, they asked me for the little drawings, and so I've been practicing drawing my face. And when you draw your face, you have to study it. And I'm looking at all these lines and that. But the great thing about the lines is that they're all laugh lines. They're all from smiling, and that's
Right, happiness. You can tell it's not stress line. I can see you're a beautiful human being, and it shows that how gracious and merciful God has been over the years on you. To like you said, 84 is a blessing to still be here, be active, and you got so much profound wisdom. And I'm just enjoying this conversation
I'm
because it's
glad.
easy to highlight, you know, the iconic level of the career, but you're also mentioning it in your storytelling. But I like focusing on the you now, like the whole concept of moving in life, because like entertainment, that's everywhere. It's in the media, it's everywhere. We can Google you, we can find, if I know the history. You're like one of my favorite people, just learning the culture and what you stand for.
Well, if you follow those, all the commandments, you can't go wrong. Not only can't
Absolutely
go wrong,
not.
you can go so right. I mean, it's mind-boggling. But the main thing for personal joy, if nothing else, because the saddest thing I saw on TV was the fathers of the kids that were massacred, and Alex Jones was so ignorant that he said it was all a hoax, and he for money, he did it for
Right.
money, and he sold everybody a bill of goods, much like Trump, but I, when I get on these talk shows like this one here, and people think, okay, what should be their punishment, or what should happen to them? And the thing is, it's not up to us. Now, if you think like God or Jesus, what you want to do, first thing you want to do is forgive them. Forgive them, Jesus. Forgive them, Lord, for they know not what they do. And the second thing you want to do, or at the same time, is also judge not. Judge not. Because judge righteous judgment. In other words, the good thing that Trump's done is that he's identified all the swamp critters that need to be taken out of government. He's identified them all. And now
Right.
we got an election coming up that's going to take care of that. And without doubt, they're gone. You can see the way the polls aren't reflected. All the polls are doing now, between you and I, is egging the Democrats, reminding them that in order to change, you have to vote. You have to vote. So there's going to be a turnout that is going to boggle the mind, because they're acting like it's a neck and neck race. In reality, it's going to be a landslide. But if we were to not, to say that, then you would get a small percentage of people that were too lazy, just don't care, and
Right.
then we would lose a moment. But right now we got a moment now that will never happen again in our lifetime. It'll never happen again. You'll never get another Trump on the ballot again, ever. He was an anomaly, and he was there for a reason. And I realized that at first I gave the FBI credit. I thought, because when Trump started going after Barack Obama, I wondered, wow, this is weird. This guy is so racist, and we got a black president, and why isn't he doing the thing? Well, you can't fight ignorance. You can only identify it and then try to educate. But again, see, you can't fight when someone's stupid. You know, well,
Right.
like people on the train tracks and the trains come. And the guy can't make up his mind what to do. you know, and that train
He
goes
can
around.
sit there, right? He's gonna sit there in the middle, like it's blowing his horn. It's already signaling to give you every sign. Move.
Yeah,
I'm not stopping. I'm just gonna go, and you're gonna be splat. And
yeah,
then you only have a split microsecond to decide if you're gonna flip over or you're just gonna become breaking news. So and so done commit suicide.
yeah, exactly, exactly. So what's happening now? See, the universe is being perfect. The shutdown, the pandemic, for instance, pandemic. It's the Earth telling God, telling the humans, uh, when I tell you to stop doing shit, I mean stop doing shit.
I'm frustrated. I'm doing enough. This is my way of saying chill out, bro.
Okay,
Just chill.
okay. Because if you read the Bible, you know when the pandemic hit, the same time as Passover. You know what
It's been
Passover
here.
was? Yeah, Passover
It's
is
been,
we're celebrating the plague that was hitting everybody, killing all the Jewish
mm,
kids or whatever. And if you put a mark of God on your door, the angel of death would pass over. That's
right.
what Passover was. And so here we are sitting in a pandemic, same thing. But only difference was is that the jet stopped flying, the people stop driving, people start traveling, the oil, the oil, wanting oil, the need for oil went down to the point where it disappeared. Oil, you couldn't sell
It made the
crude.
people stop working and they wasn't
Yeah, it
being
was,
able to drill it up.
and so the oil companies, they all panicked. And then they got together and they said, look, we got to start a war, because see, wars are the ones that drive oil prices up. You see,
Mm-hmm.
and because you need the reserve to fight the war machine. But now we're going so electric. Eventually, we won't need oil to fight anything, because there's nothing left to fight. By the way,
We
there's
don't
no
wipe
reason.
everything out. Right.
There's, there's no reason to fight. And when you look at what's going on in the Ukraine, I look at it, it's like they're clearing away the old communist built buildings, and infrastructure and that. So when they rebuild everything, it's going to be modernized to the point where you don't need oil, you don't need hydro, you got solar and you got wind and you got electric vehicles. And then you're going to have individual. And then I watched on TV, they come up with a house that is totally green, and self-sufficient. Self-sufficient. They built a house that the toilet and the heating and everything is self-sufficient. And it's like the electric car. I tried to make an electric car before they had electric cars. In fact, I still
Okay.
got one in the shop, and we used real batteries. I had a guy that was doing it. He had made electric cars, and he was driving one way before anybody else was. And then so I tried to get one, and then here comes Toyota, and then here comes and now Tesla, and I got one of the first Teslas. But we're coming into an age of enlightenment that will last for many, 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 many years. I've even got a plan how to help the homeless.
Okay.
It's crazy. You want to hear it?
Absolutely.
I want to create a movie company. And with my movie company, I want to hire the homeless. First of all, I want to find an area, any area, and designate it a movie site. Get the
Okay.
license to shoot a movie in this, say, the very, very populated homeless area. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, once I do that, once I get the permit to shoot a movie there, then everybody on the area either has to work for the movie company or leave the area, unless you own a building. And that if you're an owner or something, no problem. But if you're on the street, and you're living, homeless, you can either join the movie company with all the perks it has, and we'll hire everybody. And not only hire everybody, but we will attend to their needs. Because in a movie company, you can use everybody. If
Right.
you can't even move, you're an extra. Even if you're in a wheelchair, okay, you're the guy in the wheelchair. We need him over there. You can join the extra guild. If you're a craftsman, you can join the crafts department. If you're an actor, you're an actor. If you want to be an actor, you can study acting. You can be an extra. You can be an actor. You can be an executive if you have the skills to be an executive. Then boom, yeah, we can use you in the front office. Whatever skills you got, a movie company can use. Now, the plus behind the movie company is, first of all, you got to know who's your employees. So you got a background check, everything on everybody, that you know exactly who's working for you and how many children they have, so on, where they need to live. Do they have a house? They don't? Okay. So we got to arrange living in quarters for them. Now, they all get paid. And they're all on, not only get paid, but they're all joined the unions. The extras union, the actors guild, the construction, the painters, whatever. And so they join the unions. Now they all have health coverage, and they all have to have schooling, because if you're working on a movie, you have to go to school. If you're school age, it's mandated by law. And you can't live on the street, because now you have the wherewithal to rent an appropriate place. See, the trouble with most homeless is that they can't afford the rent. That's it, period. They can't afford the rent. And there's no income coming in, you see. So you can't help them one time and expect miracles, And so what you have to do with these people is find employment for them. Now, you don't want to be a communist country and the government will take care of everything for you. No. You don't want to stay capitalist. And so working for a movie company is the closest thing to communal or the communist ideological, except because you have the unions. You have the unions to protect you, you see. But it's still a capitalist society. And then you shoot the movie of the people, the stories of the people on the street right then. You shoot when you interview them, you find the stories that are compelling and that are heart-wrenching, and you know you're going to get them. Because to me, living on the street is like an audition. I want to know with these people. I want to know. When I go by a tent, I don't see dirt or filth in it. I see real people living there. And I want to know what brought him there, because I know, like John Paul DeJorian, I think his name is. He's a multi-billionaire that used to be homeless, and when he was homeless, he lived in his car. And what he did before he made his fortune in tequila, he knew how to live in his car. He lived in his car, and he joined a gym. And so he always had a place to wash and clean and work out. Yeah. And then, but at night he would sleep in his car, and he kept his clothes in his car, And so that was the way he did it until he made his fortune, and then now he's so there's so many stories like that on the street. There used to be a program in New York called "There Are 8 Million Stories in the Naked City." And this has been one of them. Well, that's what I see when I see homeless. Every tent to me is a story. I want to hear that story. I want to see that story. And like they talk about sex trafficking, and they talk about the junkies and all that stuff.
Right.
I want to know that guy. Like I saw a documentary on Charlie Parker, the great alto saxophone, the jazz guy. And now Charlie was a known drug addict, and that was his knock all his life. And a lot of musicians and people that don't know figured the reason he was such a phenomenal player was because he did heroin. No, no. The truth was, Charlie never did heroin until he was in his 20s when he was in a horrible car accident, and the doctors prescribed legal heroin for him for his pain. And once he got on it, he couldn't get off it. Before he got the heroin habit, Charlie would practice as much as 15 hours a day since he was 5 years old.
Right, routine. It became routine, and then that changed him.
This guy was so proficient on his horn that one time, the documentary tells you about this one time, this great classical composer was in the audience. Stravinsky, I think his name was. And Charlie's playing a song called Cherokee. It's got a ton of changes in it. And he's playing at a tempo so fast you can't even tap your foot to
it.
And so halfway through the tune, Charlie knows that Stravinsky's in the audience. He plays a piece from his concerto in that tune at that tempo, note for fucking note. And Stravinsky jumped out of his chair and he screamed. Everybody in the audience, what the? They couldn't believe. And that's how proficient this guy was on his horn. And oh man, see, the human, we're instruments, you know, and the more we practice whatever that concerns us. And that's the other thing about God. There's a scripture that says he will perfect that which concerns you. And no matter what it is, now it could be bank robbery, but if you do it with God,
whatever your gift of gab is that I put in you when I created you, I'm gonna critique it as it go. I get it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He will perfect that which concerns you. And if you look at the history of people all the time, and being honest, by the way, and you know, being honest with yourself, you know that more problems occur because we lie to ourselves. And because we're weak, we will accept those lies because it's easier. You know, it's easier. And we're always looking for the easy way. You
Right.
know? And that's why so many of us, we just kind of drift through life. Of course, it's our karma. And we don't feel a whole lot, you know, because we're sort of going which way the wind blows, you see. But that's good too, because we need an audience. We all can't be great, you know. We all can't be the comedian, you know. I was watching another show about the stand-up comedy, and it was really interesting because they had all the different comics on it, and Jerry Seinfeld and Chris Rock and all these people talking about stand-up, you know, and their theory, and it's incredible, you know, because they all come from a different background, you know,
with one common goal, like they met in the middle.
Yeah, well, that's what happened when Cheech and I broke up. I was devastated for a while, maybe a month or so. And then I broke out of it. You know, I went to a comedy club, and Dennis Miller from Saturday Night Live was playing. And because I was Chong, Cheech and Chong, I had, you know, celebrity status. And so I met Dennis, and we had a little chat. And Dennis said something to me. I hadn't worked for years. I'd just been finished doing all the Cheech and Chong movies. And Dennis said, he said, "Do you still get nervous before you go on stage?" And when he said that, it was like, oh, I got to go on stage. I want to get nervous. I want to have that feeling. And so I think the next week I went back to back to LA, and signed up to do my first 5-minute bit on a comedy club. And it was so fun being nervous and being excited. And I got 5 minutes. And you know when I went on? It was weird. The night after Rodney King got his ass whipped.
Oh, wow. Wow. Right. But it was that moment, right? It was the purpose. It was walking into your purpose. 5 minutes to go on after something devastating.
I had to do a bit, and I had to mention it. And so part of my bit was that, mothers are weird, man. If their kid's on TV, it doesn't matter why they're on TV. They got to tell all their friends, did you see my son? The cop, he was the guy that was beating him. Yeah, that's my son. That's my boy.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's priceless comedy.
But you know what? After I did the bit, the heckler said, not a heckler, but a guy in the audience said, he goes, "Where's Cheech?"
And then it hits you again. Hey, I ain't come here for that.
Oh, I love it. I loved it, man. No, that's what I found out. That's when then God told me. God says, "Hey, man, there's a reason. You're free, dude. You can go be a comedian." Before that, I was tied to Cheech.
So for so long, yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's respect. It wasn't like we hated each other. We just bland. It was just that moment. The seasons change, and I had to follow my next direction.
I just watched Nash Bridges on TV. I watch every chance I get because I never really followed Cheech's career after we broke up because I was busy with my own. But now I watch Nash Bridges every chance I get because he's kind of he never went comedy. He went more acting. He went.
He did, which he did. He did.
Yeah. He did that, and I went totally comedy. I went right into the comedy, and so I watch him all the time because now we're partners in our cruise chews, our gummies and all that shit, our weed partnerships, and so we see each other a lot, but Cheech, you can tell people by what they watch, and so Cheech, what are you watching? And he's watching cop shows. He likes all the cop shows, and because his dad was a cop, and then he played Nash Bridges as a cop. And I watched an episode of him and Don. They're in a nightclub, and there's drug dealing going on. The guy grabs a woman hostage, and Cheech is there, and he shoots somebody, and it was like, woo! It was like, because I had they offered me the Nash Bridges at the same time they offered Cheech. That was Don, I guess, Don Johnson, because he knew breaking up the comedy team like that, wasn't as cool, if it really happened like that. So I got offered the job, but I was working at the That 70s Show, so I that's a path I took. Anyway, I'm talked out, man. I guess you can tell I smoked up.
No, I love it, man, and I got so much respect and love for you. I've enjoyed it. You gave me some real life jewels, and I hope it gives my audience the same effect. Because once people hear conversation like this, they tend to give you that deaf ear. Because they first thing they go, man, he had Tommy Chong. Why aren't they talking about pot? Why aren't they talking about this? We know that's his essential known, but he's a human being at the end of the day. What you may see on camera may not be me when I'm off the camera. Like, I've learned that in podcasts. That's why I was like, I'm do real talk with real people. So when I meet people, I'm like, I take the family approach. Like, we family. Like, this is like talking to that uncle that you ain't seen in a year, and we having a family reunion to me.
Yeah. That's what I feel too. That's what I love about not having to do big concerts. Cheech and I, we were on MTV, the MTV Awards. We gave an award to the Chili Peppers, and we're in front of like thousands and thousands of people. But you look out and you go, oh shit! I'm glad I don't have to try to entertain these guys. Because
right, there go that nervousness you was talking about. It hit you quick.
I'd rather do what we're doing, man. You know, sitting in my house talking. Now I don't know how many viewers you got, but I know that for a fact. We did one TikTok thing, and we got something like 36 million hits on one. I said, "Whoa, that's a lot of people." And what I'm doing now is we're getting ready. Like I said about the movie company, to help the homeless, and also to help the Afghan and by the way, Haiti. You know all the problems that are going on in Haiti. I got a movie idea where we form a movie company that's militant, because every movie company you need your police force. You
Yeah,
need someone there to direct traffic, or to to make sure that people don't steal shit on the set, all that stuff. You need your own police force. Well, I see problems like in Haiti, and that what happens is that it's a lack of authority. You don't have anybody there that's policing anybody else, and so it's like a
right.
free fall. So you get the strongest gangs, different gang segments. Everybody tribes up in order to protect their own family. You tribe up, and that's what they did over there, because Haiti is thanks to the slave trade, we ended up with the Haitians, and that whole area, and
Right.
that's like the dredges of the slave trade ended up all through the islands, and in the South America, and that, and that shit is still going on. And so I envision you got to have some kind of force, but you have to. It can't be mercenary. It can't be like a government.
No,
So
don't
that
come in with that tyrant dictatorship type of
yeah,
vibe. No.
because that's the authoritarian thing, and it's all about taking wealth
Hmm.
or from
You
anybody and
clash
selling it to
everything,
someone
and then
else.
you drive not. Yeah, you're right.
So what I'm saying about a movie company, when you come in there with a movie company, you identify everybody in the company itself, and then you set the rules. In order to be in the movie company, you have to do this, this, and this. You have to be straight, and you can't be the least bit crooked. You can't use that energy. And there are, by the way, there are jobs for thieves and the criminals. You know what those jobs are?
What's that?
Law enforcement.
Lawyers, right?
Yeah,
Mm,
yeah. Law enforcement. Law
right. Turn and
enforcement.
transform them. Y'all want to do all this stuff? Let's suit you up. Let's train
Okay,
you, and then make you
that's
become now. But then you educate them, right? Which
yeah,
switches the narrative from all the negative energy, and they go, now I uphold the law. What are they gonna do now that you done
yeah.
switched them? They're gonna look at the next people that was doing what they used to do, and then they're gonna be like, hold on, don't do that. I know what that role's gonna lead you.
That's right, and it's territorial.
Changes.
It's territorial, and what you do, you pick. This is what I say when Haiti. So what I envision is getting someone like a Sean Penn, and then someone that understands the human nature and also understands the need of the people. You know,
Okay.
uh, because basically the need is someone that will follow the rules and make everybody else follow the rules. Like a traffic cop. If everybody's going willy-nilly, it doesn't
The
work.
enforcer type. You need
Yeah,
the enforcer
but
type.
you keep everything flowing in a certain direction and flowing in another direction, and then you have order, and you stop and say, okay, it's your turn to move, and so on. That's what I'm talking about. What is needed, because all those countries that are in problem, that have problems, the problem usually is oil and greed
Yeah.
of the people, the masters that want to come in there and control the people, you know, and and own the mineral rights and all that's under the earth, you see. But what we're finding out with our society is that the riches are in front of us. The sun, the wind, the solar, the wind power, the water. We got all the water we need. There's no need for drought because we have the wherewithal to turn ocean water into fresh water. And that's
Right.
another plan that I have, because I want to create a recreation, because what's happening with the world is we're going to be spending more money on recreation than we've ever have in the past. And the reason is that we have so many robots doing the manual kind of labor that all we have to do is find ways to really amuse ourselves and to keep the species in good shape, healthy, you know. And that's why the outdoor sports and that's why vacations are so popular all around the world, the beaches and that, you know, because it's people taking a break from their lives,
Normal.
whether they need it or not, and going to a nice, beautiful area. What? To swim? Well, if you're going to be swimming, you're going to try to get the best body you can get, and so on. And so I see recreation as being the future of the human race, and a big factor, because with recreation, like in sports and everything, what
Yeah.
you know what it comes with? Rules.
Still
Rules.
comes with the rules.
That's
Moral
it.
of the story, people still got rules. No matter what you're gonna do in life, there's a
That
rule attached to it.
that right. That's right. That's right. And the more you learn, that's why lawyers, and that's why the Jew. By the way, that's why Jews are so hated by the ignorant people, like Weezy or whatever. What's his new name? He's talking anti-Semitic
Oh,
bullshit.
Kanye West. Oh, you talking about
Yeah,
the Kanye West drama that's not,
yeah.
and now he's
What's
getting
he called?
canceled.
Yahweh,
Yeezy, yay, yeah, yay. I know
Yeezy.
you. Yeah,
Well,
he go by
well,
Yeezy or Yay now.
yeah, yeah. See, he's always been out to self-destruct. You know, he's trying to commit social suicide, and he's doing a pretty good job at it. You know,
Yeah,
he
I've
keeps
been seeing the reports all day. This company is like they cutting ties. Now everybody's just basically. So
yeah.
he's implementing that whole mysterious DEFCON 3 thing he's been talking about on Twitter. Now it's
Yeah,
coming into life.
yeah. Well, I mean, he'll get his wish, but in the meantime, you see the power that is out there,
Mm,
and because of belief, like I said, and my theory, the reason the Jews have been hated was the same way the Chinese were hated in Indonesia. The Chinese, the reason they hate them in Indonesia was the Chinese were like, see, the Jewish people in the beginning were the slaves of the world. And,
right,
and, and being slaves, they never had legal representation. They never had the proper medical, the doctors. They never had any of that. And so what they did, they had to self-educate. And so they started educating themselves. See, they were lucky because what they did, like they found out about the power of the spiritual God. And once you find that power, you will conquer everything, because knowledge is power.
it's power.
And the reason people hate them is because they're not knowledgeable. They're ignorant. It's the ignorant that are the racist. And ignorant is just what it means. That's why Yeezy or whatever his name is, that's why he can say
Right,
things, because he is ignorant. There's no other way to describe it, you
right,
know? And it's not about money. It's not about success. It's not about singing. It's not about any of that stuff. It's about your moral uh, obligations to each other. You know, love thy neighbor. Love thy neighbor. You can't fuck over your neighbor and then say, "Oh no, I love him." No, you can't. If someone needs help, you help them. That's why like when people, I talk to certain people, they think the homeless are disgusting and they would never give them money. It just encourages them. I said, well, then if you want to give them money, give them a smile. Recognize them as who they are.
Absolutely.
That could be your father, your mother, you. Could be you.
At any given moment, they're
That's
still
right.
human beings. We
That's
have to
right.
see ourselves into the reenactment. You
Right.
laughing at them now, and then a year later, you're in that same predicament, and they might be on the come up, and they're gonna be like, "Yeah, remember that time you kind of snub nosed at me, But because of who I am and who God has allowed me to be, I ain't gonna be like you. I'm gonna turn the other cheek and help
Yeah,
you up."
I'm gonna forgive you. I'm gonna forgive you and go on with my life because it's all momentary. I used to give I used to think about being a musician because being a musician and being homeless is so close. They're so closely related because you talk to any guitar player, musician, and that if it wasn't for
That's
the
a big
girl,
correlation.
if it
You
wasn't
get
for
in the
the
big bands and you hit the roads, yeah.
if it wasn't for the girlfriends, the wives, or the mothers,
Gave
where
them a
would
reason to come home.
where would we be? Where would we
On the
be?
road, packed up in a van, state to state, in somebody's parking lot, at your next venues. You're right. You're
Yeah,
absolutely right.
yeah, and that's what one thing musicians learn. We learn how to be very grateful because you never know when you're going to be having to sleep on someone's couch or in someone's garage or someone's car or something. I've been there,
Right? Always got to be humble, people.
Anyway, I really enjoyed today, man.
Likewise, man. I wish you much, much on your dreams and your success and things you got going on, man. It's been a joy. I love it. Love your family, everything. It's all love here. And I hope to be chatting again someday on Who They Want podcast with you, man.
Anytime, bro. I'm here.
All right.
I'm
I
available
love
for
it.
bar mitzvahs and birthdays and
That's how
and
you tell it. Tell them you're a comedian goat out here. Tell them you out here. You can still make a laugh.
I love it, man. I love
I
it.
love it
Anyway,
too.
I take care, man.
You too.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
How do I get out of here now? Uh, I don't know how to get out of here.
I
Oh, there
got
you
you. You got it.
there you
Okay. Wow, man, that was a really dope show. This episode will be available on all your podcast channels. Make sure you subscribe to Who They Want Podcast on Facebook and Who They Want Entertainment LLC on YouTube and available in all streaming platforms. This has been Movie Icon Monday with DJ Steady. Are you ready? You dig?